up, guys? Welcome to the Unplugged podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, a friend I made recently, working at an event in Reno for a school dance company called PMP events, and I'll give a shout out to Sudi. Right now in that industry, we're not really working, but Vince Bracy here is from the great state of New York. He's an East Coaster coming out here, following his dreams. And he is currently an MC for the Clippers games. He does their announcements and gets the crowd going. Just a guy that's full of energy and just full of just positive vibes, which I read off from the start. So I want to bring him on to share his story and hear a little bit about his life. So Vince, thank you so much for joining me.
Katar, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
So I want to get the first thing to get out the way. All right. I should have said this before we even started.
Yeah.
So COVID, man. COVID messed a lot of things up, man. And one of them being that I was able to say I am currently the MC for the Clippers, but right now I haven't stepped foot inside. I haven't been anywhere near a Clippers game. For quite some time, since almost a year now. So it's very unfortunate that I'm not able to continue that. Hopefully, when fans are allowed back inside, they'll have me back and I'll be able to do my thing on the court once again. That's why we're here to talk today, man. Like you said, about my journey and whatnot.
I see you have your mic ready to go. You're ready. Your mic's right there.
I literally, so that is one thing about me. And that is something that, again, we're relatively in the same field, right? We work in the same business. So that's something I encourage anybody that is interested in like emceeing, hosting, anything like that. Like always have a microphone. Like you see, I got my other microphone here. Like always have a mic. And honestly, I'm serious. It's gotten me to, I'm not going to say like great heights, but pretty much put me in positions where it's like, oh, y'all don't have a host or you don't have a microphone set up or nobody's gonna, well, it just so happens
off screen. Look at that.
Right. I just have it right here at all times. So that's been a thing for me for a while now.
That's so funny. You bring up a good point. I'm ready to go. Put me in,
prepared.
Coach. Yeah, no,
always be prepared, man.
So let's trace back. Let's go to your upbringing. Take me the day you were born. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. In 1988.
No, but where in New York are you from?
I'm from the Bronx, New York, originally.
Oh, the Bronx.
You know what I'm saying? BX, birthplace of hip hop. And I lived most of my life in the Bronx and spent most of my entirety of my life in the Bronx. And it wasn't until more recently, like trying different opportunities and gigs and stuff, that I was able to leave the Bronx. I went away to college for 1 year. I lived in DC for 1 year. And then after that, I think I had been to, it's crazy. We met in Reno, you said, right?
Yeah.
I went to Vegas for an internship one time. Outside of that, I've been to Jamaica for like a vacation one time. But outside of that, like I had barely been outside of the Bronx until more recently. And now I feel like I've been all over the world, which is kind of crazy.
And you know that you have to really count your blessings, because that's not an experience for a lot of people who come out here. So you can come out here from wherever and you could never get any work and just be serving your entire life. And when you told me that you did the announcements and emceeing for the Clippers, like, oh, that's big. Like that's a huge opportunity,
Yeah.
So, and not only that, like you're very humble about it, which I respect a lot. And you meet a lot of people in the industry who are very braggart, and you have every right to be for having that current status as for the Clippers games, but you were completely humble and a genuine guy to talk to. And then I meet a lot of people in different industries. And even when I was more, because right now I DJ and MC broadly for Orange County, not so much LA, but different events and stuff. But when I was acting and when I was doing my Hollywood thing, like you meet people from all over, and a lot of people are assholes. or they're just trying to like rank you, or trying to show that they're like, oh, I just came from a coach premiere. Like everyone's trying to drop their game, and it's refreshing to not only just your attitude, but your humility. So I think that probably has a lot to do with your upbringing too. So let's get back to that. So in the Bronx, what inspired you, or what were the chain of events that kind of led you into this platform? Because
Dude,
there's so many things you can do in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the kind words. So I feel like that again, like you said, that's part of just who I am. Moving out here recently, I see like what is it called? Like the snakes in the grass, and the way that people judge you, like you said, based on rank and stuff like that. So that's, it's part of Hollywood, I guess. And it's not something that I'm necessarily like upset about. I just know that anybody could come from anywhere and all walks of life and stuff like that. But like you said, it's a dream. I would say my initial interest in hosting, I always had kind of like an interest in entertainment. My father and my uncle used to run an entertainment company. When I was growing up, me and my cousins used to like pass out flyers for the comedy shows and stuff like that, which was kind of dope. But believe it or not, I always wanted to be a dentist my entire life. That was like, that's like I tell people that and they're like, nah, no way. Always wanted to be a dentist. My reasoning for being a dentist was always because, my father was an electrician, still is an electrician, and he wouldn't allow me to do anything in construction. So I had to find something else to do, but I like the tools. I like dealing with the tools and stuff.
Okay.
So my dentist, most kids are afraid of the dentist, but my dentist was like the coolest dentist ever for some reason. And also his name was Vincent. And that was the only other person besides myself and my father that I knew at the time named Vincent. So went on majority of my life, even trained in high school for 4 years to be a dentist, and I worked in the dentist's office. It was very intense, but it wasn't until I had gotten kicked out of college in my first year, had to go back to school, and I was still on track to science major and stuff like that. But I was pretty much rebuilding myself as not just a student, but as a person almost. Like I had to start from scratch. My whole freshman year of college was pretty much scrapped. So at my new school back in the Bronx, shout out to Lehman College, I, hooked up with a couple friends that I remembered from high school and stuff. And they're like, oh, this is come run with my crew over here, and it wasn't like a bad crew. It was a cool group of guys. And some of them just happened to be involved in like school orientation and stuff like that. So being a brand new student in a setting where, I'm not necessarily familiar, but I'm familiar with these people, and them showing me the ropes of the school, it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then it's kind of like I got dragged into it myself. So the next semester, I was the one showing people around campus and stuff. Hey, let me show you. Let me show you this. So it went from me just having so many ideas for like skits and how to entertain people during orientation to literally one day, my claim to fame, if you will, somebody, I don't know what we were waiting for, like an administrator or something like that. Somebody passes me a microphone and says, yo, Vince, just stall for like a couple minutes. And I'm just like, so how's everybody? Did y'all get to try those muffins? We had the little, you know what I'm saying? We had the little coffee set up for y'all out front. Everybody having a good day so far?
What's the deal with muffins?
You know what I'm saying? So it literally just went from me like talking, being myself in front of a crowd, because I was going to do that anyway. Every once in a while we have to introduce ourselves. We do have a tour where we bring the students around campus, but me just watching people like smile and giggle and interact with me just off of like, I'm just the guy with the microphone now. It was like a really interesting feeling to me. So that was something that I flocked to. It was something that I really couldn't wait to do every single semester. And from then on, one of the somebody that eventually became my mentor, who's a good friend of mine now, he was like the biggest DJ on campus. He was an administrator for the school. He worked in student life, but also DJ'd like all the parties that had to do with student life. So that was a good friend of mine. Shout out to DJ Phoenix. Like I said, a friend, and he doesn't like that I call him a mentor anymore, because we're still,
it's weird.
Still like 5 years older than me. We're both out of college, you know what I'm saying? He works at a different school. I've gone on my own path. But he was the DJ and gave me an opportunity to host and told me like, oh, you can host as much as you want. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. And again, he was in like higher education. But so many talks that we've had with each other, he would always let me know like, oh man, if I could DJ like 100% of my time, like just devote the rest of my life to DJing, I would do it. And I was like, you know what? I enjoy hosting that much that that's something that I would absolutely look forward to. So that was pretty much, it's been almost 10 years now. I would say like 2009 ish at some point. That was the first time where I was like, I think I like doing this. I like, hanging around with people. I like introducing folks. I like being myself on a microphone and the reaction that I get from it. So that was pretty much the birth of Vince Bracy, the host at that point.
It's very interesting. I've been, what's funny? So since I started this podcast, I've been having a lot, because I have a lot, in this industry, we have a lot of entertainer friends, and that epiphany of when you are in front of an audience, and there's an energy that you give off and that you feed off of when you are, in your element. That I know for me, I can be very, crazy thoughts in my head. I can be really, just everywhere. But when I'm performing, and I get in the zone, there's very little time in my life that there's clarity. But when I'm performing, that's when I find clarity. Like
feels right, man.
Yeah. I think it's just because it's only you and the feedback from the audience that you are thriving on, which it's an unexplainable feeling. But I think people like you and me and other entertainers know it very well. So it's so interesting to hear stories that are very different but very the same, at the same time. But so your background, you fell into it. You never did a theater or public speaking or things like that.
Eventually I started getting into that. So again, in college I was still focused on, I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, even if I keep failing the same chemistry class over and over and over again, I'm going to find a way to get into something. So because I couldn't pass chemistry, it was really chemistry. I just was kicking my ass over and over again. I had to change my major. I was a crazy as it sounds, anthrobiochem major at one point, because I needed those prerequisites to get into dental school, which is I was still set on. But the entertainment was calling me, man. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to challenge myself. So something I always enjoyed, something that people had started around that time telling me, oh, you should try to get more into, was video. I used to just walk around with my little mini video camera and
the DV.
I forgot what it was called at the time. I had like a Kodak ZI8 or something like that.
It
was like
was it still DV cameras, or was it digital at that point?
No, it was digital, but it was like the little, it almost looked like a small cell phone, but I can't remember.
The one that looks like it looks like a really like an iPhone block.
Something like that. One of those. When those came out, I was like, oh, this is lit. You know what I'm saying? Quality HD video off of something tiny.
720p.
I took it.
No.
So
you gotta start somewhere, man.
I would just walk around with my camera and stuff like that. I was like I was an amateur on for some reason, Microsoft Paint was something that I was decent at. Windows Movie Maker. This is to let you know what time it was. So people were like, yo, you should try to go into video and stuff like that. And I was like, we'll see. Me changing my minor to something that had to do with video. My very first internship was at a public access studio that was located on the campus called BronxNet. And my very first class, I walk in there and it's a TV studio. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting credit for this. This is pretty cool. So my first day working, I learned so much about the cameras and the angles and the lighting and the soundboard and stuff like that. I get to go home after my first day of my internship. I click on the TV and I'm watching the show that I helped create earlier, and I get to see my name in the credits. And that's was awesome. just like we talked about, that feeling that you get when the crowd responds to you. It's like, I'm on TV, bro. You know what I'm saying? Dude. Mom, that's my name right there.
It's a sense of pride.
So it opened something up for me, and I really enjoyed going from, again, just walking around with the camera phone to knowing exactly what I was doing and how things made sense to if you know from your experience with editing and stuff like that, you start to look at movies and TV shows a little bit different. How did they get that shot? Stuff like that. So the next semester, the next class that I took for my minor was like intro to television or something.
Mhm.
And my professor for that class was my advisor, was my supervisor for the previous internship. So I walk into class and she's like, "Oh, Vince knows everything. I'm going to get some coffee." I'm like, I'm teaching a class now at this point. This is,
Yeah.
I just, after failing a few years worth of
Yeah.
chemistry, I
You're excelling
stumble
something
on,
else.
you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
stumble on
Yeah.
a new minor, and this is my love now. This is like the easiest
Yeah.
thing in the world.
That's great.
And eventually I became one of the I became an on-air DJ for that station. So now I'm actually on the TV. People get to see my face. I'm interacting with the host,
Yeah.
mixing in some sounds here and
That's
there.
awesome, man.
And I loved it, man. I loved it. So from there, my natural like instinct is to, what's the next best thing that I can find after this? So that's
Can
where I took that train to.
can I ask you, because my experience as you know, as an Asian pursuing performing arts, you know, same. It's funny that you were like, I just want to be a dentist, and whereas like my dad was like, can you be a dentist? You know, like
Right.
yeah, it's like, you know, why don't you do this? Why don't you, you know, become a doctor and stuff?
Mm.
And like for you, it was like you wanted to do those things, but then you felt like a natural talent just, you know, coming out in you. Your parents, I'm sorry, I want to know the black experience of
Ooh.
pursuing, well, because you know, arguing between school or a passion, as it were, you know, because I'm sure the black experience is much different from the Asian experience. I want to hear what your parents, their support or their maybe their disagreements of things that you've done in terms
Yeah.
of pursuing what you're doing now. But yeah, and also now that you have a career out of it now, so maybe that those opinions have changed. Like how's that been?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everybody's parents wants them to, you know, be the
Be a
greatest
doctor.
possible. And yeah, the
Yeah,
doctor
how many
thing
doctors
is
can there be on this earth? You know, come on. Like,
exactly, it's all there. It's all there. So I know my parents were definitely proud of me growing up, knowing that again, I was the weird kid that wanted to be a dentist when nobody even liked being a dentist. When I had told my mom that, I was like, you know what? I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I know, you know, our family has taken a stab at entertainment here and there. It might have gone well at some points and then just kind of like, you know,
yeah,
dissipated a little bit. But my mom was not very happy with me about the decision about the decision at that time. She eventually came around. She came to a couple shows that I hosted. So I'm very grateful that I got to have
yeah.
my mom see some shows that I hosted. My father, same thing. He immediately shut me down. He was like, "What? How are you supposed to make any money being a host?" And at the time, I didn't have like the Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Ryan Seacrest in the back of my mind to be like, "Oh, take that, Dad."
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? But now my father unfortunately still hasn't been able to see me host anything live. He's seen me do like virtual stuff in these times now, but
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
hasn't actually been to an event of mine, which I'm very upset about. But I know he will. I know he will at some point. I know he's proud of
Yeah,
what I'm doing now. So
but you know, still I feel like the Clippers thing it's quite like that's like really that stands out. You know,
yeah,
like
no, it's a big thing. So
that's a
that's what.
paycheck. I think as long as the paycheck, it's like okay. You know, like for my dad, for my late father, like it wasn't until I was getting paid to entertain where he was
Mm,
like a little more comfortable with it, you know?
yeah,
And it wasn't until I started DJing, emceeing where like he really saw that, oh, okay, like he can make a living. He can
that's
be
good.
okay, you know? So it's actually what's funny is I've always been really in fear of my father's opinion because like growing up in my household, you know, you have cousins who are doctors and successful in terms of like, you know, career and you know, logistically by numbers, you know, they should be successful.
Mm.
But he was always competing with his brother and I had to compete my cousins and like, oh look, this and Jill, they're doctors, they got doctorates, and like your son is just he's wearing a monkey suit at a theme park, you know.
Oh
So
man.
you know, so like it was always like things like that with my dad, and I think that always affected my father. But it wasn't until when I started really making a career as a DJ,
That's good.
whereas like I was in the man, you know, like I was always busy, and like you know I could pay for a few dinners, you know, like it's on me, you know, like
Hey.
when you get to that point in like your career in life, it's like it's nice, it's comforting for your parents, you know. But I've always had like a odd relationship, not odd, but like I was always scared to talk to my dad because I was always afraid he was going to bring up like, why don't you be a doctor, or like, why aren't you doing these things? And that's always like what the talk comes out to, you know. So before my father passed, no, after my father passed, I started looking up like his Facebook and kind of just you know you go through all the things that he had, and I was never friends with my dad on Facebook because well, no, at the time, at the age I wasn't down for being Facebook friends with
I get it.
or parentals like my aunt. I was like, I'm still a kid. I don't want them seeing the stuff I do, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I went back on his Facebook and I saw he had all these pictures and all these posts from my company, from like just my posts of working and stuff. And he posted, "This is my son. He's the most popular DJ in Orange County." And
that's
like,
amazing.
yeah, you know, so like it's full circle. And like I think that like for parents, as hard as they are and as much as they want what's best for you, you know, like if you're passionate about what you do and like you excel at it, like they'll come around, you know, yeah. So I don't know your relationship with your father, but you know, I would also say like you're very a lot of people have like, oh, I have a relationship with my dad. Like, you know what though, you both have opportunity to make a better relationship. You know, like, he's still alive. You have a relationship. You have a ability to have a relationship with your father. So don't ever take that for granted. You know. So I hope you and your dad have a good relationship, and you have my support. I think you.
I appreciate
do a good
that.
job. Yeah, no, dude, totally. I one day, hopefully, when things are better, I want to go Clippers game and see you in action.
Yo, that would be amazing.
And then and also like moving forward with this podcast and more things going on, I'm more than happy to have you on for more topics and things like that, because you are definitely a breath of fresh air in terms of your personality. That. Yeah, dude. Yeah. So after you you kind of found your footing in terms of emceeing and stuff, when was this decision you wanted to go to LA? Like what drove you to be like, I need to, because there's a lot of emceeing and also entertainment work in New York. Like if anything, when entertainment, they say go to LA, go to New York. Those are the two places you go to work in whatever field of entertainment you want to do. They're the big ones, you know. Like I would say to a lesser extent Orlando for like theme park stuff, but like the major entertainment capitals are New York and I don't know if I'm doing right. New York, LA, East Coast, West Coast. Those are the big cities to work in entertainment. But like you wanted to leave New York and come to Los Angeles to Hollywood. Like what drove that move?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in New York, obviously, like you said, they're the only other place that you could say that, oh, this is the place. You know, some people, Atlanta was making its move in the creative field as well, but Hollywood is obviously the only other option. And not even to say that, oh, I want to be a movie star, which it's possible. I would love to be a movie star.
Yeah, we all.
But that wasn't exactly the thing that I was focused on. When I was in New York, like I said, I was constantly just building myself, trying to figure out what the next step was. So again, we've been in the same business for so long. Like after I realized that I could make money hosting, I'm trying to figure out how I can make even more money hosting. What is the biggest scene? Weddings and bar mitzvahs, apparently. So you know what I'm saying? So that was the I did enough of those with so many different companies in New York that like I said, I always wanted more. I was fortunate enough to work in TV at the time. I got a gig in radio. Unfortunately, I also beautiful what you said about your father. I lost my mother as well. And the most important thing, like the most she didn't have like pictures of me and stuff, but one really cool moment that I had with my mom probably the year before she passed was that I was working at a brand new radio station that it was her idea for me to apply to.
That's great.
I applied to it. I got the job. They gave me my first day on the job. I was hosting an event in front of the Apollo Theater in Harlem.
Oh shit.
And she just popped up and showed up and just to support me. And that was like the most amazing, you know what I'm saying? That was the most amazing thing ever. And then she was also really into like, it was an R&B station. So she was really into R&B. So every once in a while there would be like some extra tickets to an event or something like that. She, let me go see Tank. Tank brings her on stage to sing with her and stuff. It's amazing opportunity. So that was something that was really dope.
That's awesome.
And then once I realized like, I had already known about how the radio scene worked in New York. So I knew if I couldn't continue, I think it was like the same exact situation as this, but not COVID. They had I think they had just lost funding or something like that.
Yeah, things
So
happen. Yeah.
that had gotten shut down. So I was in a place where I was like, all right, now I got to decide what am I going to do? I've tried, I've applied for cruise ships and stuff like that. Like at this point, I'm ready to branch out to the world. You know, I know New York can't contain me in a sense.
Yeah.
So my gig was I had gotten a gig off of Craigslist, no less, for the world famous Harlem Wizards. So that gave me the opportunity. It's a show basketball team, very similar to the Globetrotters.
That's what it sounds like. Is that what it's?
Yeah, so we got to travel the country, travel the world.
That's
new
cool.
City every single day.
Man, that's awesome.
These guys are doing slam dunks and like, spinning the ball and dribbling. I'm not that athletic myself, so I was the guy with the I was the guy on the sideline hyping them up. Oh, yes,
cool. Twirling your microphone.
Yeah, come on. I got a little trick, you know what I'm saying? I still can't fully spin the ball. But yeah, I'm
also a basketball man. I'm a soccer player.
It was an eye-opening experience for me. It gave me, I wasn't even really like super into sports. Like I always, still to this day, would love to work at Yankee Stadium just because where I'm from. But I wasn't super into basketball at the time. You know, I was learning more things, like hanging around basketball players. It was an amazing experience. Again, getting to be in a different, from the Bronx, not, you know, doing much, to being in a different city somewhere on this planet every single day. Like, that's awesome. All right, and now we're going to Illinois, and every single little town in Illinois. Like, what's in Illinois? Chicago? No, there's a bunch of other towns. All right, now we're going to Florida. Oh, Miami. Now every other single town. You know what I'm saying? So it was an eye-opening experience. And then I planned on doing that job for probably 4 years, just to gain as much experience as I could, travel as much as I could. But like I said, I always had my eyes on the prize. What's the next thing? So from traveling the world, I always try to find people that are like similar to what I'm doing. So I stumbled upon this guy, shout out to Frenchie, who at the time was working for the Harlem Globetrotters, which is pretty much the same idea of what I was doing. He had left the Harlem Globetrotters and became the MC for the LA Clippers. And he was also from New York. And I'm like, get the heck out of here. This guy's literally doing, what I want to do. So I have to watch him closely. So from then on, I think in my second and third year working with the Wizards, he would tell me, he was like, oh man, I only did the Globetrotters for 1 year. I couldn't necessarily take that going back and forth every single time. And I'm like, I feel you. It is very demanding. I don't know if anybody out there has actually been on a tour. It is very demanding.
It takes its toll. Like you don't have a home, and the sense of time just kind of goes everywhere. It's cool to see like new things every time. You know, like it's cool to see sites all the time. But
I'm glad I did it. Definitely glad I got to do it.
Just let me look back on, like, I'm glad I did it, but at the same time, it's like you know, you do miss the normalcy of just having a normal like place to stay,
your own bed, not living out of a suitcase for years,
stuck with a bunch of people that like you start off really great and then like slow, like the paint starts pulling and you start seeing something. I don't know.
Like, being around the same 6 dudes 24/7, like it becomes a lot. And then your only escape from these dudes is stepping outside and, again, not complaining about, you know, the opportunities that I've had, but oh my God, are you one of the Harlem Wizards? Oh, let me get a please for my kids. Can I just get? I'm just like, wow, like I'm just a kid from the Bronx, and I in the middle of Minnesota, I'm a celebrity just because of the shirt that I'm wearing. You know what I'm saying? So like it was really cool. Same thing when we got to go to China a couple times actually, and the reaction, you would have thought I was Michael Jordan out there.
No, honestly, you know what's funny? Any black man in China, it's like they think you're Michael Jordan. Like they can't comprehend who is who. It's like they have the word, like it's not just China. Some like mostly the Asian countries that are very secluded have no like comprehension of like pop culture. outside of
Right.
their
They don't even
world.
have Netflix over there. I was
Yeah,
very
yeah, they're on
surprised at
Netflix.
that.
They like that's the reason why like Star Wars does horribly in China because they don't get it. They don't know it. Yeah, they didn't grow up with it. But it's funny because like I hear stories of my black friends going to China and like people were taking pictures with me thinking I was someone famous. It's like I'm just a black guy in China.
The entire time. Now imagine if they were going and actually seeing a show that we performed at.
Yeah,
Then it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's like, oh
oh
my
my
god.
goodness. It's a whole
It's like
nother level.
it probably went up to you like, I bet you could take on Michael Jordan, you know? So,
It was a lot. It was a lot. Like I said,
yeah,
it was crazy, crazy experience. It was fun.
that's cool, man.
But yeah, from that, like I said, I wanted more after that. I wanted to know what's the next possible thing. So seeing again, watching Frenchie, watching other people be in a position where they're an NBA host, I'm like, well, going from hosting in middle school gyms to professional gyms has got to be a nice step. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's what the goal was. I think I applied for a few different teams, but obviously certain markets are bigger than others. And I don't think none of the teams that I had applied to ever responded to me for some reason. So I was kind of upset about that. So I was a little bit down. After I had decided to leave the Harlem Wizards, I was lucky enough to find a position with the Seton Hall Pirates. So working in Jersey, I was living in Jersey already. So got an opportunity to work with Seton Hall. That was my first time getting to see myself on the Jumbotron. It was like, oh snap, I made it.
That's
you know
cool.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was pretty lit. And then again, I just used that opportunity to catapult me into other things. I tried to do as much hosting opportunities as I could. I'm really into hip hop. So I was hosting like music showcases as well.
Cool.
And I got a gig with a baseball team called the Somerset Patriots in Jersey. And they just recently became like the AA affiliate of the Yankees. So I was like, it's all meant to, you know what I'm saying? It was all meant to be. But yeah, all that, footage, pictures and stuff like that, I just throw it on top of the portfolio. And that's
Nice.
what I eventually sent to the Clippers and they liked it.
That's awesome.
So I'm here.
So when you apply for these teams or these jobs, do you send an acting resume with the headshot, or like how is that process?
No,
usually application or a video or what do you?
Usually, I mean, like any job, they still want a regular application. They still want to see your resume and stuff. Yeah. But I did. I'm pretty sure most of these people usually ask for a video as well, just to have like some proof. Like, all right, make sure this is not just some guy off the street. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I had worked enough and had visualized enough, especially watching other people's stuff to say, all right, if I'm going to be in this position, then I have to have things that look as much like this position as possible. So again, working in a college setting with fans going completely nuts. Yeah. Honestly, having worked in the NBA, I really feel like college fans are way more intense than
no, like just drinks.
Yeah, there's some, because you got to understand, there's like, if you think about like the big college schools, like the Dukes in North Carolina, it's like people bleed for those schools. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, you know what? You're like, right. You're right.
Grandfathers.
You're right. Yeah. Like, college sports has a very intense legacy of like people. I don't, because I didn't go to prestigious college, so I don't get the culture. But like my friend Sean, he went to USC, and like and just the way he talks about like the events and the people, like I get it, because USC it's pretty prestigious. Like USC is one of the big schools in California. Yep. But it's for me, it's never been like when someone says college, like, oh, so it's where you went to school, but it's not like yeah. So it was never like, wow, you went to, unless it's like like you hear Harvard, you hear the big ones, like it stands out, like Harvard, Princeton, Oxford, like, oh wow, you're educated, but other people, I'm like, that's cool, like that's great. Like, so you're bagging groceries now, that's great, college degrees, and unless you apply your college degrees or your what you've learned, like it really means nothing to me, because it's where you went to school.
It's funny you say that, man. Funny you say that, because I honestly feel like I mean, again, just in just being in this field that we're in, be like, man, I didn't need school for this, bro. Like, if I would have known that this is what I wanted to do, who knows? I don't know when I would have started. Like, again, I was able to get like the prestigious university thing by going to Howard University my first year. but I didn't know at that time that I wanted to be in entertainment. So I was able to see like, oh, this is how you start your radio show. This is how you put a show on TV. And I was like, oh, this is all really interesting to me, but I don't want to take my attention off of, you know, the task at hand, which was at the time was being a dentist. So if I would have stayed at that school and, you know, been really deep into that stuff, you know, who knows where things could have been. But
I feel like for some kids at 18, like that's too young to decide like what you want to do for the rest of your life. You
I
know?
agree.
Like
I agree.
I started out like, oh, I'm do restaurant hotel management, which I've never done before. I just like I pick something like I want to be in charge. That sounds, you know, like that sounds like up for me. But then
I like food, right?
Yeah, I like food. I love hospitality. I love hotels. But you know, later on in life, you have different experiences, and you know, I did theater, and I got into auditioning, and you know, I did my acting thing and entertainment thing, and all of that led to me, you know, working as a MC DJ. So and like it's and I wouldn't have my life any other way. You know, like this is like I feel like what I do now is a purist of what I love doing, which is entertaining people, you know. And I think for people like you and me, like you have to work the industry and like know your true self in order to really know what it's like to really enjoy this type of work, because it's not for everybody. You know, like I get a lot of people that come up to me and like they get nervous. I don't know what to say. I'm like, dude, just because for you it's natural for us to just have to speak in public, and it doesn't faze us, you know. And then
that's
like,
the funnest thing in the world sometimes.
And like,
I'm like, wow, people are really afraid of this. Like, I'm not doing anything.
I have my cousins and friends who are doctors and who are like denizens in their career, and like when they see me do my thing, they're like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I'm just talking. I'm just being
That's all
friendly.
I'm doing, just like I'm doing to you right now.
I think the process of what you learned and what I learned just kind of became, it grew into what we do now. And I think it's part charisma, it's part adapting, it's parts just projection and knowing your vocal presence, you know, and your presence as a MC entertainer, you know? Hey, so thank you so much for watching this episode of Unplugged. Don't forget, you can also listen to Unplugged on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, and I think Pandora as well. Unplugged is actually growing on a lot of podcast channels, so just type in Unplugged Katar Marcus. It should pop up anywhere, really. And hey, when you see that little link for a link tree, click on it, because it also has other places to find me, like on Instagram, as well as Facebook, and my merch on TeePublic. So check that out too, guys. But thank you so much for watching this part of Unplugged. Hang tight. We're gonna have the next episode in a few days. Thanks for watching, guys. Be safe, be kind, be you. Peace.